Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. Today it is the 15th of August, 2022. And on today's show, to look back at Juan Soto's return to Nationals Park. Some news that CJ Abrams, one of the prospects the Nationals got back in the Juan Soto trade, will be making his big league debut tonight. Mason Thompson gets set down in kind of a curious decision. So a whole lot of Nationals news and notes to get to. Let's get after it.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. It is the 15th of August, 2022. We thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. On today's show, once again, a whole lot to get to. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LO_Nationals. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors_ as well. You guys find the show on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts. So Nationals dropped 2 of 3 over the weekend to the San Diego Padres, and it was interesting to see Juan Soto back. A whole lot of conversations, obviously, about that, but a whole lot from people on Twitter about the attendance this weekend, and the Nationals, really, considering how bad they've been this year, their attendance has been rather good. Once again, relatively speaking, to how well the team has performed. But saw this, and I'm curious to see how accurate these numbers are. But some people on Twitter are talking about the Nationals having almost 100,000 across the weekend. The Nationals' average attendance, according to Talk Nats, is 18th. They're 23,696 per game. It's not far behind the Philly. Well, it's pretty far behind the Phillies. 5,000 behind. I'm just reading the tweet here. But the Nats still blow away the Orioles, who are 17-177. Now, I will say this. The Orioles, while they have a great fan base, their team has been down for so long, so you don't really think, they're going to get a ton of fans a lot of time. But I did see a game last week, Blue Jays game, where they came back, rallied, and won on Masson, where the crowd was not good, going up against a team that is ahead of them in the standings, and they're trying to catch for a playoff spot. They're catching more of the Rays, but you see what I'm saying there. I thought that was interesting. But, yeah, the fan show up, it was weird, though. It feels like earlier in the year, the Nats fans didn't really show up that much for the Max Scherzer's return. Wasn't super well attended. I just want to say Nats fans have been sticking with it, and a lot of you all, obviously, I hear your feedback as well. So, seeing the attendance was good. Also, once again, attendance relative to performance is very good. Seeing Juan Soto back there, just like being the same guy he normally is, right, or really has been this year. I saw the numbers that he's got 100 walks. He got his 100th walk of the season, and the next closest person in the National League is 38 walks behind him. If you just go to bases on balls this year, overall, he's at 101. The next closest person, Aaron Judge, at 66. Jesse Winker's at 65. Max Muncy is at 64. He's tied with Alex Bregman at that number. So the next closest person to him is 35 walks. 35 walks away. Excuse me. The next closest person in the National League is 37 walks away. So that just shows, Juan Soto, how good he's been, despite the fact that, we've talked about how not good that he's been relative to, how well he's been playing. But he is on a streak right now. We've been seeing it right now. He is on a 6-game hitting streak. 3 of those games were multi-hit games. And then the games where he didn't get 2 hits, he walked twice in both of those. Struck out just 1 time over the course of the entire weekend against the Nationals. So he had an efficient, a really good week. He was 4 for 12 with 4 walks on the weekend. So obviously he was performing very well. But it was interesting because a lot of the Padres fans really upset about that second game, which we'll get to. But a 10-5 win in game 1 with the Nationals, just, the pitching for them not there. Corey Abbott gives up 3 runs in 4 innings. 5 Ks. I mean, it was awful. And then Victor Arano comes and gives up a run. Tyler Clippard down the line makes his return and goes up a run. And this was curious to me. So let's get to the Mason Thompson aspect of this right now. And once again, Juan Soto, great to see him back at the ballpark. Y'all are tired of hearing about Juan Soto, so we're not really going to go like too deep on that. I mean, he's playing really well. I think that's all we have to say. It's what we expect from it. The Mason Thompson going down, was really interesting because this is a guy they get last year in that Daniel Hudson trade. And during his time in DC and last year, 24 2/3 innings, 4.01 ERA. This year, 8 innings pitched and a 1.13 ERA for Mason Thompson. Now, I know he was injured for most of the year and comes back and has looked good. As did have one, that was difficult. But this one was odd to me because, when you talk about Jake Mcgee joining the staff, right? They want to do that to open up a spot for Jake Mcgee. And Tyler Clippard's coming back too. Like, I really just think about this in terms of Mason Thompson's a guy that's got a chance to help this team down the line. And you really can't get any lower leverage spots. I mean, I totally forgot to do this actually brings up my point, checking out where the Nationals sit right now. The Nationals are the worst team in baseball, right? We all know that. They're 38-78. They're 37.5 games back of the first place in the division. It's 20-some back of wild card spot. 18-42 at home, 20-36 on the road. They have the worst run differential in the game at -210. They've lost 1 on the road. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. There are no more lower leverage spots than the spots in the big leagues and the spots the Nationals will be in. I mean, when it comes to big league baseball games, these are about as low leverage as it gets for the Nationals side of things. Obviously, the Nats will run into some teams that are playing for playoff spots. And look, I think that was one of the big kind of talking points for the Padres side of things was, wow, this is a team that you should be sweeping, right? The Nationals do have this way of kind of grabbing one from you. They've done that a whole lot this year. But, the Nats, predominantly speaking, they feel very sweepable most of the time. And you're upset when you don't sweep the Nationals. That aside, the Nationals, once again, it's higher leverage for everybody else except for the Nats. So why are you sending down? And I have not read anywhere that it looks like that Mason Thompson is injured. I have not seen that. They're just doing that to, it just seems like they're just doing this to get Jake Mcgee up. I mean, maybe you could argue that they know they want Mason Thompson in the big leagues already, and they want to see if there's a spot for Jake Mcgee. But there are plenty of other guys that I would have tossed off this roster before I would have gone and I know, once again, I think also Dave Martinez is trying to fill innings, and maybe Mason Thompson coming off an injury doesn't help them do that. But also you're trying to get guys work, right? Jake Mcgee comes in here, and this is a guy, that is, I mean, pretty old, 36 years old is Jake Mcgee. So you're bringing this guy in and you're making a roster spot for him. I mean, I didn't really understand what the calculus here was for the Nationals. What does Jake Mcgee really do for you at this point at age 36 and in a season where he's had a 6.75 ERA? Well, that was a short stint. Let's see, overall in 2022, when you combine so with San Francisco, a 7.17 ERA for him in the 21 and the third innings he's worked, and then 5 2/3, was really good back in 21, had a really good stint back in 20 as well. But he's been a guy who's been up and down for a lot of his career. And so now the Nationals are bringing him in, but to what end, right? What is the point of having him up here? What does he give you? I mean, it's another arm, but why would you send Mason Thompson down? You weren't worried about wasting bullets. It's just a very peculiar situation. I know Dave Martinez has talked about it some too, but I don't think there's really any defense for why you would send Mason Thompson down. And look, this is not the first time that we have had some issues with the way young guys have been deployed. I mean, you could argue they've been too careful with Cade Cavalli. You could argue that At times with the Struble Cabrera situation over there at third, not letting Carter Kieboom kind of get the full shot there at third in the shortened season was kind of a weird oversight. It felt like, or kind of a weird miss there. I think Luis Garcia has been treated pretty fairly and kind of gotten the rub and the reps that we've wanted them to. But there have been young guys out there that just feel like they've not really gotten the full, the full chance or gotten the reps they've needed to. Right. And that'll lead us into CJ Abrams here in a second, but I just wanted to talk about that kind of as it pertains, to this game, the first game, when we see that Mason Thompson being sent down, and we see guys like Tyler Clippard and Jake Mcgee who are up. Let's get the Nationals win here, but first, quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. As you gear up for the fall, you need to find the right people on your team to help your small or large business help you all fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find those people, the ones you want to talk to, faster and for free. You can create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond, the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every single week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. So as I mentioned, the first game they lost, you just get battered around 10-5. Second game though, they end up getting a win, and this is part of the. And we talked about the Joey Meneses story the other day. It's just been fantastic. I mean, once again, a season where you don't have a whole lot of good, and you get an opportunity to have a guy like Joey Meneses come along. And I have to say this: Anibal Sanchez, this was his best start. Now, 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, and 4 Ks is like kind of the bare minimum. But this was probably his best start. So I've been on Anibal. He gave them 5 strong, solid innings in this game, just 3-run ball. And they got to Yu Darvish as well. The Nats weren't great runner scoring position, just 1 for 4, but back-to-back jacks from Yadiel Hernandez and Joey Meneses in the bottom of the 5th, and a long one, 415 for Meneses. This is a guy, once again, we've talked about it. He tied that game up with that home run, and then Robles reaching on the infield single helps them drive in the next run in the 7th. Bullpen finishes the game off and does a very good job at the back end. Finnegan, Harvey, and Carl Edwards Jr. kind of, do what they've been doing for most of the season. But, it's great to see a guy like Meneses continue to perform, continue to have big moments, and 2 hits in this game. And so it's somebody who's played right field, somebody who's played first base. He's hit 5th, he's hit 2nd. He's been all over the place. And it's nice to see a guy like this, once again, at 30 years old, finally get that opportunity in the big leagues. And then you go to the final game. This one, not so much fun. A 6-0 loss for the Nationals against the Padres. 7 hits in the day. Nationals not able to scratch across a run. Blake Snell was brilliant. 3 hits allowed over 6 innings with 10 strikeouts. Martinez and Suarez come in and get the job done for them. Paulo Espino does get, knocked around a little bit. 5 2/3, 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 Ks. But still, once again, I've always talked about him. It's a guy that deserves every opportunity, considering, how rocky things have been for him, and how kind of tumultuous his career has been, getting to the big leagues, and then now being the guy to says whatever you need me, coach. I'll go out there and do it. He and Meneses have been very, very much the same in that regards. That's the Nationals weekend. That gets us to the big news that everybody was really fired up about. It's the fact that CJ Abrams, one of the Nationals' top prospects, a prospect the Nationals got in the trade for Juan Soto, is going to come up, and he's gonna be with the team, tonight. So as the Nationals look forward to hosting the Chicago Cubs, the prospect that currently for them, let's see, Abrams in the new rankings. Actually, he classed out. That's right. He classed out of being a prospect at this point. So he would have been one of the top guys. Obviously, he and Gore are the 2 guys that are pretty short on big league experience, but have classed out of being classified as prospects. So those guys being there. Mackenzie Gore, just to hit on him real fast. News was throwing, through 25, I think, throws from 75 feet. So They're clearly trying to ramp up Mackenzie Gore, get him going once again. And I think the hope is, maybe we see him the rest of the year. We know how Nationals are with pitchers, though. I would think that we don't see him the rest of the year, and I would hope that it's not something we have to worry about. I think anytime, and rightfully so, a Nationals fan hears, well, we're not going to see him for the rest of the year. I will say this, while I was just critical earlier, we have to be thoughtful about these kind of reps. Do you want to have a guy off an injury coming and pitching pretty meaningless games? Now, you could argue, look, a lot of the Nats games are going to be meaningless, but do you want to bring a guy back from injury and toss him into games just for the sake of saying you got him some work in the Nationals uniform or you're getting him some work? If that gets to that point and he's fine and he's good to go, then yeah, if the next best step for him is getting work, then let him get some work. But maybe it's in AAA, right? Maybe it's rehab starts as opposed to making full-fledged baseball starts. Maybe when he does come back, he's making a couple rehab starts. AAA season's over, and then you have him graduate up to the big leagues, right? Well, we're pretty close here to September. We're halfway home in August. So will he be a part of the squad they bring up? I'm leaning towards no, but that's with no medical information. That's with no inside info. I'm just saying, as somebody, we all kind of know this team, somebody who follows it, like it more often than not, especially in this stage of the Nationals development, there's no reason to rush that. But this is where we get to CJ Abrams, right? Get excited. You can, this is the first player, and I think it was smart they waited until after the series. Nationals, I'm going to read here from the Washington Post, the Nationals are calling up 21-year-old shortstop CJ Abrams. This is from Andrew Golden over there at the Post. Does a great job. That team is always excellent covering the Nats. He is going to replace the injured Luis Garcia, according to Personal Knowledge Situation. Abrams is national top prospect. Now, Baseball America still has him classified as a prospect. The MLB pipeline, which I generally use, does not. So if you all want some more clarification, direct your questions to our friend Lindsey Crosby. You all know me. I bring him on as a great resource for talking about prospects. I do as much work as I can on that front, but do not pretend to be an expert on that. So you want to ask, hey, what's the better scouting site? You go and ask him, but I'm just saying he's classed out in the MLB pipeline. Baseball America has a top prospect. I'm somewhere, not in between because I don't have an opinion on it. Abrams is one of 6 players the Nationals received in the Juan Soto trade. I know Luke Voit is up, folks. I know that as well. But we're talking about the Nationals prospects. We're talking about the prospects that they got in that trade. Voit was not some massive haul, although he's in the middle of the lineup. He's in the middle of a really bad lineup right now. So we'll see that. Mackenzie Gore is with the team. Obviously, Luke Voigt's been playing, but CJ Abrams is the first guy that we're all kind of fired up and excited to see play. Once again, Gore is dealing with the elbow inflammation, so we'll see about that. And then also, Luis Garcia is feeling pain when he is trying to run. So, he's dealing with knee soreness, and they're trying to figure that out right now. Knee soreness and also groin, I believe, as well. So Abrams, 5-tool talent. That's what general manager Mike Rizzo has said. He can steal your base, stays at shortstop, got a good arm, and a guy that can hit at the top of the order. Look, the Nationals in their pipeline have several guys that we've talked about at shortstop, right? Talked about Brady House, talked about Luis Garcia. We've talked about now CJ Abrams as well. Armando Cruz is in there. Yasel Antuna is in there as well. I think Jackson Clough and then Sammy Infante also, if you go further down the line. I think we're all kind of inclined to believe that CJ Abrams might make the most sense. While we've seen, I know it's a limited sample size, but I think some of us out there are at the point where we can say, okay, I think I've seen enough of Luis Garcia at shortstop, at least at this point in time. I think second base is the place for him. I think Abrams gets the first shot at short. And look, I know Brady House wants to play that shortstop position, but third base is the natural fit, especially if Abrams is kind of the genuine article. If he's what we're kind of hearing that he is. Now, Abrams hit .232 in 46 games the Padres this season. Also spent time with San Diego's AAA affiliate. Made 28 starts at shortstop in place of Fernando Tatis Jr. Second at six at second base, and 1 in right field during his first time in the majors. 9 for 31 with 2 doubles and 8 RBI, two RBI in 8 games in Rochester. Excuse me. So 9 for 31, 2 doubles and 2 RBIs in 8 games with Rochester. So this is somebody, that I look, as bad as that defense has been, friends, with Luis Garcia, I think the one thing we feel like with CJ Abrams is that he is going to be better at that part. And lineup, I'm doing this right now at 1:46 Eastern. We do not have a lineup right now out for the Nationals for the game tonight. So we'll see where they slot him in the lineup. But look, the Nats have made all kinds of calls, and I'm not making an Alex Call joke here, but I mean, they made the call to Alex Call, who was in AAA and had him hitting leadoff. They've had Victor Robles hitting leadoff. They've had Cesar Hernandez hitting leadoff. They've had Luis Garcia hitting leadoff. I think the hope is here with CJ Abrams' speed is that he eventually, whether it's a short term, whether it's a long term, whatever, especially short term, like, can he just be the leadoff guy? Because I think the one thing Nationals fans loved about the 19 team, and really you had to love about the first part of the 21 team, is that, and I think everybody loves this too, like when your lineup's dependable, when you know who's going to be out there every single day as a fan, it just puts you at ease. It just feels like, all right, I'm glad this guy is there. So Alex Call, I think, might get to hold this down for a little bit. I think people are pretty high on his ability to get on base. And I was reading around yesterday. It seems like some people were surprised, right? I think Jesse already said that some folks were surprised that Alex Call did not make that roster. He was the odd man out in the roster crunch for the Guardians. So now he comes to Nationals, and we'll see what he can do. All right, 4-game series coming up with the Cubs. We'll set that up next. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline and betonline.net. Go to BetOnline today. When you guys do sign up, it's free to do. It's the number one place for all of your odds, scores, podcasts, and more. You guys can find league reviews, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening. Once again, it's BetOnline is where the game starts. 4 games set for the Nationals against the Cubs, who are also way out of this thing right now. They're 47 and 66. What to look for this series? Josiah Gray looks to make another strong start tonight as they face off against Marcus Stroman. He'll go the other way for the Cubs. Second game, 7:05, 7:05, 1:05 in this 3-game set. Patrick Corbin is going to take the mound, and we saw Dave Martinez really try to boost Corbin's confidence and talk about how good he looked in his bullpen. 4-16, 7.02 ERA, a 1.82 WHIP. It really can't get much worse than this right now for Corbin. So hopefully he's fixed some stuff, and this is kind of the right team in the Chicago Cubs to go against at home. Granted, although the Nationals have been very, very good at home, to try to get back going. And he will be countered by Justin Steele, who's had a really nice season. Then Corey Abbott will go up against the veteran Drew Smyly, who's also having a really nice year, all things considered, for the Nationals getaway game on Wednesday before they head to the West Coast. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at @LO_Nationals. Follow me at @JoshNeighbors_. Find the show wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as well. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.